This podcast claims to talk real life with real people. Well, it doesn't get more down to earth than today's guest, and Bubba is calling you to listen in, like he's calling a hunting dog into the back of a pickup truck.
Come on, Blue! Here, boy!
Bailey Scheffert felt the sting of being deep in the bottle, but found his way out by going back to good old-fashioned coon hunting.
Woohoo! He got him now!
And here's your host, Bubba Seaman.
Thank you guys. I love the passion. Before we get to today's guest, I want to remind everyone to follow us on our new Facebook page. My wife started that, and our Instagram. I'm trying to do that, and I'm terrible at it. But be sure to share us on all your social media. We got to keep this thing growing, and I think we're doing a good job at that. So check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Also, some of you have noticed I've been putting a Q&A section at the end of each podcast and a poll question. I know it's on Spotify. I don't know if you can see it if you're listening on Apple, but there should be a question for you to answer, and then there should be a poll question for you to take, and you guys can interact with me that way and have some fun with, and that kind of draws more attention to the podcast as well. The more traffic there is, the more likely it is to get recommended by Spotify and Apple and them. So I know it shows up in the show notes or the episode description on Spotify, so just look for it. Send me an email, let me know if you can't find it or whatever, but it should be there. And do you know where I got that idea from? It was a couple of kids out at Wapsie Valley High School. Zach and Riker with the Talk of the Tribe podcast, they started doing that, and I just stole it from them. I said, hey, there's that option when you're building the episode to put a question out there, and so I started coming up with these questions or poll questions, and they're pretty fun. So be sure to check in the show notes so you can participate in that. Those two guys, they're being proactive, you know. Even if Riker's daily phone usage, they call it screen time, it's a bit concerning, but at least they're doing something rather than doing nothing. And it seems like all of us adults, we just like to bash on the younger generation all the time, but those guys are doing something. So if you want to know what's going on in the Valley, be sure to follow the Talk of the Tribe podcast, and their new one is an Anything Goes podcast called the Dog Pound podcast with Zach Bavers and Riker Oberly. And I have one more thing before we get to our guest. I'm a big believer in letting people know when you notice they got it right. You know, it's kind of a lost art these days when we give somebody a compliment or let them know we notice that they did something right, you know, that we saw it, that we appreciate them or their effort or what they did. I mean, we just don't do it anymore. And there's all kinds of ways to do it. You can tell them face to face. That's the best. Send them an email, send them a text. When you take time out of your day to let somebody else know, hey, I noticed this about you and I want to tell you good job. Do you have any idea what kind of an impact that has on that person? It is very powerful, let me tell you. So I want to take a minute and do that real quick. I got an invite a couple weeks ago or a week ago to the Wapsie Valley CAPS demonstration day over at Grumpy's. And if you don't know what the CAPS program is, it's kind of like an extra class these kids can take. And I think there was 6 of them. And it helps encourage them to develop skills and abilities that would help them out like after high school, like in a more professional sense. It really makes them think critically about how to solve a problem or how to address a need, how to, just develop ideas and execute strategies. It pushes them out of their comfort zone, especially on this demonstration day where they had to give a presentation about what they had been working on, and or a demonstration, I guess you'd call it. And I accepted the invite. Timothy sent me the invite. He said, Dad, it's not that big a deal. You don't got to take off work to come to this thing. Well, I work in a factory for a living. I'm always looking for an excuse to use a couple hours of vacation time and get out of work early. So I showed up, and I think I initially shook a few of the kids a little bit. They're like, oh my goodness, look, somebody's dad showed up. But there were other adults there, and we got to give our opinions and insight when they were done. But Let me tell you about the first group. The first group was Timothy, Dallas, and Haley, and the project they had been working on. Let me tell you, the idea of it alone, they just knocked it out of the park. I mean, if they had walked into Shark Tank, I guarantee you Mark Cuban or one of them, they would have walked out of there with $1 million deal. And they didn't have a product. I'm not saying that. But their idea, there was a need, and they had come up with the best idea to meet that need. And what it was a senior citizen technology class. So they just held this little thing over at the Reedland Public Library. I'm not sure how long it was, half hour, whatever, where senior citizens could come in if they had questions or wanted to know more about anything, how to navigate on their phone better, how to use their iPads, how to figure out that tricky darn email situation, whatever it is. These kids are the experts. This generation, technology has its, benefits and its drawbacks, but these kids are definitely the experts on how to use that technology. I think that was just a perfect idea. If you need more proof that the older generation need more help, I'm no whiz myself. My kids have to help me out sometimes. But you get older than me, my parents' generation, man, they struggle. Did you see that episode recently of the Talk of the Tribe podcast where Zach and Riker had Marty McCowan on? They get towards the end of the interview, and they always do this segment called Screen Time, where you pull up on your phone the screen time from the previous day. And, it's supposed to, it's more for parents to look at their kid's phone and see how much they were on it, things like that. I think that's what it's for. Marty couldn't even find it, didn't know how to get to it. And I'm not bashing Mr. McCowan at all. I'm just saying, there's your example. He eventually did find it. He got to it. But it just goes to show you there's a need there for some of those people that age who struggle with technology. If you let one of these younger kids give you a one-on-one for half an hour, you're going to benefit from that tremendously. So I applaud those guys. That was just a great idea. Their presentation was good. You could tell none of them were super comfortable up there, but they had their stuff memorized. They articulated clearly what they did, what the goal of it was. They even had a second project that they were thinking about doing. And I was just very proud of them, their effort, and their ability to kind of get outside their comfort zone and give us a demonstration, which isn't easy. I think that alone is a great skill to have. Arguably, no more valuable skill to have is to push yourself out of your comfort zone and do something that needs to be done, even if you're a little timid about it. That's kind of a nice feeling when you can surprise yourself and do something you were nervous about. It just shows you, man, human beings, we are resilient. It doesn't matter if you're the younger generation or the older generation. So I just applaud that first group. The second group was Reagan, Kylie, and Freddie, and their project was apparently there had been like a Northeast Iowa emergency fund. If there was a family that was in need, pick any example, house fire or something like that, there was some funding that was available. And apparently there was like an endowment fund that was a little more local, maybe through the Reedland Telephone Co-op, if I'm not mistaken. I was trying to pick up on all that stuff. And they wanted to have kind of a more local emergency fund. And so the money was already there, or at least the start of, a fund was there. And so they had to kind of rebrand and then market that, get that word out to people and let them know we're no longer a part of this big group. We have a more localized fund to help people in need in the Reedland area. And so they had to develop a logo and a strategy and all this stuff. And I noticed right away their logo looked great. And that is not easy to do. I tried to develop a logo for this podcast. The one that you actually see, I had nothing to do with that. The one that I created, I showed to my wife, Sarah, and Bridget and Timothy, and they're like, Dad, it looks like you hopped on Snapchat for 2 minutes and did that. And I was like, okay, can't go with that one. So we gave it to my wife's stepbrother, who's in graphic design, and he came up with like 3 or 4 different really good ones, and that's the one we settled on. So doing a logo is not easy, and they actually had a plan of why they chose the hand, why they chose the water tower, the heart, and it was just very well done. They even look to people outside for guidance or, resources. I think they used Jill Crawl, who works with United Way, to use her as a resource and have her kind of help guide them with that. And it was excellent. And their demonstration was great. They had their slideshow ready. They knew their material. They weren't looking down at the floor, hands in their pockets. You can kind of tell at some point they didn't know what to do with their hands, like Ricky Bobby, but they did great. It was really good. I'm proud of them. This younger generation, they get knocked quite a bit, but it's no different. That stuff's been happening since the beginning of time. I remember the older generation would bash my generation. And they're probably going to bash this generation now is going to bash the generation, younger than them. It's just part of the thing. Everybody remembers hearing. I remember hearing that from my dad telling me his dad would tell him, I had to walk uphill to school in the snow both ways. And it's like, come on. Okay. So nothing changes. We change. We get older. We get more bitter towards the younger generation, but not here, not today. Gen Z, not getting any hate from me today whatsoever. I was proud of all of these kids. And Mr. Cusick, Jordan Cusick, came over from Dunkerton. He heads up the Wapsie Valley CAPS program, and he's doing an excellent job. I mean, everything there was very formal, business-like. Kids were professional. And, some people just think that kids today, they don't have that in them. You know what I mean? They're glued to their phones. They have no respect. They have well, I'm telling you, they've got it in them. Okay, maybe we need to encourage them to be that way more often or whatever, but they serve a purpose, and they did very well, and I'm proud of them, and it gives me hope for the future. So Wapsie Valley CAPS program, I'm proud of you. You get a shout out on the What Is Up podcast. And that's, if you notice later on in the podcast, there's a segment called Stop Complaining and Do Something. And that's where the guest, if every teen in America is in their youth group and you have to give them a message, what would it be? What would you say to them? Well, this is kind of, look at this generation. We don't always need to complain about them because they get it right sometimes. So good job, Wapsie Valley CAPS program. Proud of you. Now let's get to the good stuff. We have another guest in studio today. This is 2 in a row. And he will be receiving a free What Is Up t-shirt for being on today. Bailey, I think there's larges there and extra larges here. So I don't know what size you are, but you get one just for coming on today. And these shirts are sweet. So Bailey, what is up, man?
Oh, not much, Bubba. Enjoying the snowy day. How's it going?
Yes, we are recording the weekend after Thanksgiving, and it is snowing outside right now. So me and Bailey, we work together at Lifeline. He's a welder. I am not. And that's about all I know. So we're just going to jump right in. And Bailey, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself right now, kind of where you're at right now.
Oh, I guess like Bubba said, I work at Lifeline right now, live in Sumner, have a girlfriend, and an almost 2-year-old son, and another one on the way. So, yeah. And what do you guys like to do? What's something you like to do, or? I guess we like to coon hunt as a family.
There it is.
Pretty much anything, to do with our son, Colton. Everybody was like, "Oh, when can he come stay with us?" It's like, well, what would we do without him? I mean, don't want to miss anything.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so tell me a little bit about your childhood. We'll run through your history a little bit. What was the childhood like for Bailey Scheffert?
I guess I was born and raised in Owine. Hard to believe. I think I was, 94, 95 was the last year Owine delivered babies in Owine. So
okay.
I was one of the last ones. Growing up as me and my sister, and they said I didn't really talk till I was 3 or 4 because my sister would do all the talking for me. But I could ride a bike before her. I think I rode a bike without training wheels at 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive, dude. I taught all my kids to ride a bike, and none of them, it was not that easy.
I guess natural.
Wow.
4 or 5, my parents got divorced. I remember it, being there in the fight and leaving, going out and live at the farm with my grandma and all that stuff.
But you still saw your dad?
Yep, still saw my dad, like on Wednesdays and every other weekend.
Okay. Typical, like, visitation type deal.
Yep, typical. I think my dad lived with my grandpa and grandma for a while, and then around that time, like, it would be the first time I ever went coon hunting, which was a blast.
Yeah.
My grandpa's buddy, he was an ornery old guy, but every fence we got to, he'd pick me up, put me over there, and
Okay.
I mean,
How old were you then?
I was probably, it was around the same time, so 4 or 5.
4 or 5. First time coon hunting. Wow. Yeah, you learn a lot from them old guys.
Oh, yeah. Then that's probably the first time I ever stole anything, too. My grandpa had a litter of puppies and said I could have one. Well,
Okay.
I picked the biggest puppy, and the guy that bred my grandpa's female was coming, and my mom took me over there, and I grabbed my puppy, and we went home, and my grandpa called and said, "Hey, you need to bring that dog back."
Oh, man.
But, then sports started, baseball, soccer.
Soccer?
Yep.
Oh, man.
Soccer was big back then.
I don't get it. It's kind of big now, like in the bigger cities and stuff.
It's coming back. There are a lot of fields over there in Waverly.
Wow. Yeah, that was not for me. Okay. And then, so what did the parents do? Mom remarries and...
Yeah, I think in 2001, my mom and stepdad Marty got remarried. Then,
Okay.
I can't remember when my dad and stepmom got married, but that was a little later on.
Okay. And so your stepdad, that's how one of the few things I actually knew about you was your stepdad runs the electric shop.
Yep, Thomas Electric.
Thomas
Illinois.
Electric and Oilwine. Okay, yeah, because I can't remember if it was like your first day or when you were first there or something, and you said I said something about working on grain dryers, and you said, "Oh yeah, I know Maurer and this and that," and it's like, "Oh okay, now I get it. Yeah, the place we dropped them big, huge electric motors
Big
off.
old Kansans.
Yeah, okay, that's it. Okay, yeah, so big into sports.
I'd say sports were, like baseball and wrestling.
Wrestling,
Probably till
yeah.
middle school.
Okay,
But, I mean, because in Oilwine, like, what's that, 5th and 6th, the YSF,
yep.
we were like the first year to do that in Oilwine.
Okay,
So that was, football was pretty big then, too.
yeah.
And, probably played football till my sophomore year. I don't know, just started drinking and smoking, and
Yeah, like all of us,
Yeah.
most of us.
then, just trouble with the, what do you want to call that, authority figures.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, trouble with the law,
Couple times by then.
like possession tickets
Yeah,
and
possession, but I don't know, I guess just people trying to tell you what, being hypocrites.
things. Yeah.
Just, I don't know, you think you know everything at that age, and you
Well,
don't.
Possession tickets and attitude, you just related to like 95% of my audience, I'm sure. We all did stupid stuff. So, okay. And then another thing we got in common, you shared with me, was just how bad it got about drinking and stuff and then showing up to school functions that way.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I always kind of hung out with the older kids, and I don't know, my buddy thought he had a thing for a basketball girl, and he was going to drive to the basketball game, and we knew he couldn't drive, so we took him, and yeah, we all got kicked out by the athletic director, and then the next day we got called into his office, and he's like, "I couldn't sleep last night because I let you guys leave." It's like, well, we're here, I guess.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know, he was decent about it, but I mean,
What was the punishment?
we had to work every home track meet,
Okay.
so usually shovel or had to rake the long jump pit and
Okay.
stuff like that.
No, like were you ineligible for any sports because
I
of that?
wasn't playing sports by then.
You were done. You were
Yep.
just into the partying, so it
Yep.
was all done. Okay. Wow, that's actually a good punishment, I guess. I like that.
Yeah, but I guess he kind of thought of it as, he kind of screwed up too by letting us
By
leave.
letting you leave that night.
So
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. Imagine if something had happened.
and he knew about it. I mean, but
they'd have his head today.
Yeah,
You know what I
I mean-
mean? Wow. All right. So then summer, teen years, summer comes around. What were you doing then for work and things like that? Getting more education from the older guys?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everywhere I worked with all the older people. But I'd say my first real paying summer job, I went and worked on the road pouring vent pads.
Okay.
So, we'd have to set forms, and since I was young, I guess I'd have dragged the power screed around,
Okay.
to level it off.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, I went to Illinois, Missouri, Louisiana, Mississippi. It was all over.
Man. That's, and were those guys role models for you?
No. Like, two of them, I don't know, they're just shortly out of their prison sentence for manufacturing meth.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was 17 at the time. They'd buy me cigarettes, they'd buy beer, they'd like, oh, who can bench press the most rebar? Whoever
Yeah.
loses has to buy a beer. I mean, it's like, that's
Wow.
real life stuff, but
Wow. See, so it does us no good right here, right now, to tell older people you have a chance to be a good influence, because now they're much older. So really, we're speaking to like people our age and younger. Like, if there's somebody younger than you working with you, or however you're associated with them or something, you are going to be an influence on them. You get to choose, is it good or bad? And buying cigarettes, alcohol, and acting like an idiot is not being a good influence. So think about that. People, think about that. Be a good influence on younger kids. So, yeah, I know plenty of guys like that. You start to learn all kinds of different things from them. So, all right. So you travel around for that summer, and then you come back, and what happens on your social media? What's waiting for you?
oh, so I get back and get a message that said, my name's Emily. If your dad is Eric and your mom is Deb, then I'm your half sister.
Wow.
And I was like, what? What is this? And then my mom was there and I asked her. She's like, yeah, I knew. It's like, so you knew and you didn't tell me? She's like, well, it's not my place to tell you that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I just kind of didn't go to my dad's, and then I went out and talked to my grandpa and grandma. My dad was just calling me.
Yeah.
He's like, not answering it, not dealing with it.
Yeah.
And, I'm with my buddy, and we're at a stoplight. Next thing you know, I'm getting dragged out of this truck, and I still had the seatbelt on. And it was my dad, and then we kind of got into it in the road, and I ran from, where the old A&W is there in Owen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ran from there all the way to the high school, because that's where my mom and Marty live, and my sister was there, and she was like, what's going on? I was like, shoulder, my shirt was ripped, and
Yeah.
the seatbelt
Yeah.
mark, and, by this time I'm trying to get in the gun safe. Well, then she goes outside and tells my dad to leave or whatever, and then that was kind of it for, hearing.
What was he pissed about?
Because I didn't come home, but it's like, oh, I was just gone for 3 months. And
Yeah.
nobody seemed to care,
Yeah.
And I don't know, just a kind of power trip thing, I think.
Moving forward from that, would you say things got better, worse, stayed the same as junior, senior year?
I'd say things kind of got a little better, trying in school anyways.
Yeah.
I was trying to get better grades and stuff, because they came and they're like, well, you need one more credit of science before you can graduate.
Yeah.
Well, I already took, I thought I took all these egg classes. Well, I didn't take egg 1. I took 2, 3, 4 in horticulture.
Yep.
But so
You missed that first one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So my senior year, I was in a freshman egg class. And I probably wasn't the best role model, but I was there.
There's a reason you're supposed to take those intro classes all together. You don't need no older kids coming in and taking an intro class.
I guess I kind of, because my, egg 2, there was we called him the 5th year senior. He was probably 20 years old.
Oh my
in
goodness.
there, and it's like, yeah, don't want to be like that. Then my
Yeah.
senior year, it's like, oh, I guess I'm kind of like that.
I am almost that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. What about your driving record around that time? What happened with your first vehicle?
Oh, my first vehicle. My first vehicle was a 95 Chevy Blazer.
Okay.
And we beat the living heck out of that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was eventually died. I mean, we killed it. And then,
Which one did you wreck?
oh, so my senior year, I got a 91 Ford F-150.
Okay.
Then that was rolled, I think, on Christmas Eve.
Oh, my goodness. I can relate. I've rolled one truck.
Well,
How did that? You got to tell me the story on that.
Well, we're going down the county line from like Stanley to Owen
Okay.
by the rock quarry there.
Yeah.
My buddy was driving because he was more sober than I was.
Who's ever less drunk can drive?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know why we decided to take my vehicle, but yeah, got to the top of the hill and I woke up on the floorboard and we're on the side. And yeah, that was not fun.
Man. Not cool.
Not cool at all.
All right. But so, you start trying harder in school and, you know what I mean? You understand kind of, I better get my crap together and work a little bit harder, or maybe I'm not even going to get that diploma or whatever. Did you graduate?
Yep, I graduated.
And how'd that celebration go for you?
Well, I mean, before graduation, we had was it like award night or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Actually got some scholarships and stuff.
Okay.
Then, my grandpa's friend, their son actually committed suicide. And it was the first year they had a scholarship for him as a trade school. And it was pretty cool. I received that.
The first one?
Yep.
Oh, okay. What's the name of that one? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
Is it still going today?
Yeah, it's still going.
Good. Good deal.
But yeah, my graduation party was, had the real graduation party, and then my friends threw me an after graduation party. And
yeah,
they bought all the beer, and as my graduation present, I got a big old bottle of Southern Comfort.
Oh my goodness.
So,
yeah, that's guaranteed to draw you into trouble, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. After high school, you did college or?
Yep. So I went to NICC in Piasta.
Okay.
And I went to the welding program there. And
okay.
The summer before that, I actually did all my gen ed classes. So all I had to do was show up, and we did like a 10-minute sit down, look at your books. Here's the answers. Let's go out and weld.
Okay.
Man.
You were doing the gen ed stuff like your senior year in high school?
You mean actually the summer after I graduated?
Okay,
I do a math class and
I got
something else.
Okay. So in the college life, then did you stay out of trouble? Did you focus more? Did you stay away from the partying, or how did that?
It definitely slowed down.
Okay.
But I mean, as school, just work
the
hard.
Busyness.
Yep, the busyness, and
yeah.
I don't know, kind of adjusting to not living at home
and working at the same time.
Yep, and working second shift.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. There's
So,
not much time.
No,
then.
I was
School
working
during the day.
Yeah, I'd go to school from 7 to 1, go home, get something to eat, work from 1 p.m. or 3 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Okay. Yeah, you can't get in much trouble then.
No.
Okay.
Besides on the weekends, I guess, when you have money to go home.
Yeah. All right. And then what about, so graduation. How old were you when you graduated?
Oh, when I graduated college, I would have been 20, 21.
Now I'm having trouble understanding. How can you get in so much trouble with alcohol when you're not even legally allowed to purchase alcohol? Come on, people. Why do we do these things? We're getting we have all these kids having all these issues, and I was one of them, before we're even legally allowed to ever go buy our own alcohol. My goodness. I mean, they can make the legal drinking age 30. It ain't going to matter.
No.
We're going to get it. If that's what we want to do, we're going to get it. We're going to do stupid stuff. We're going to get into trouble. It just doesn't matter. Okay, so after graduation, I'm assuming you graduated. I mean, you're welding for a living, so you must have that piece of paper that says,
"Yep,
I'm pretty good at this."
I got my welding degree.
Okay.
I mean, most of that was, the stuff I didn't know was reading blueprints and welding symbols and TIG welding, and I guess, we did some pressure testing welds. And,
okay.
like one of our projects was a class project. We built a bunch of bunk beds for Dubuque for like the homeless.
Okay.
So I mean, we did some stuff for the community.
Like metal frame stuff?
Yep.
Okay, I gotcha. Cool.
But yeah, after graduation, I fell back into party life, and then
Because you came back to this
I
area.
moved back to Owine, you know, all my friends, and
Yeah.
some people didn't like, some people probably didn't like me, but
Yeah.
kind of got ticked off one night and went to go to a party to kind of get in a fight. Well, cops tried to pull me over, I guess, and took off.
And what goes through your mind? You know the cops are trying to pull you over. You know they got you for whatever. Were you drunk at that time?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know they got you.
Yep. I guess figured if I could get away, it'd be cheaper than OWI.
Wrong. Who's ever listening? No, don't do that at that point. Bailey's saying it's not worth it.
No, it's not. Pretty expensive, but yeah, I was like, well, I can drive pretty good, you know. So it's like if I can get out to the gravels, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, I had straight pipe exhaust on my Ford, you know, so got out to the gravels, and they said they'd stop and roll down the windows, and they could just hear me, so they knew which way to go.
Okay.
So,
Jeez.
yeah, so they found my vehicle, and the next day, I had to go to the police station, and yeah.
Wow.
Got my papers, and I had to go to Waterloo to get a lawyer, and he wanted $8,000 as a retainer.
Just to start.
Yep, because he knew he had to drive from, Waterloo to Fayette County.
Yep. Man, that retainer business for the lawyers, that's... And if you find a lawyer that's got a cheap retainer, he's probably not worth a darn.
No, then you might as well just get a public defender.
Yeah,
yeah. So,
wow.
I mean, everything you do, every action you do has a consequence, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
It's like, well, guess I shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have been driving at all.
Well, yeah.
Had it in my head, and I just kind of went with it. And
what was the actual charge?
I was felony eluding.
Felony eluding.
And then, probably 30 speeding tickets, and, I think it would have just been eluding, but it was so foggy out, they got me,
That'd be like reckless endangerment, too,
yeah,
and all that stuff.
Actually talked to one of the cops. He's like, yeah, they had West Union Police Department, Fayette County, Fayette Police Department, Buchanan County.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
State Patrol. It's like, but yeah, because then once we got out of my truck, ran into the field, and they're like, K9. I was like, not messing with this. So I took off, and yeah, I pretty much ran from Stanley to Highway 3. And got a ride.
Grief. Wow. Man. So does your family say, okay, at this age, yeah, it's good you went to college, you got your degree, but my goodness, you've had possession tickets, all this stuff, now you're going to have all this, like, does your family step in and subpoint and say, Bailey, get it under control?
Yeah, I don't know, probably 2014, was living with my girlfriend at the time, and it was her, my grandpa, my aunt, and my mom all showed up and had like a intervention.
Okay. How old were you at that time?
I would have been probably 22, 23.
Okay.
Then, but every time I got in trouble, my grandpa would be like, oh, you gotta give up the drinking.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I know, but then you just fall back.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for a lot of people in a small town.
You don't think you have a problem because that's what everybody else is doing.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, as long as you can get up and go to work, or whatever, it's not that bad. I really don't have a problem if I can get up and still go to work and whatever. But how'd your grandpa help you? You keep mentioning your grandpa. How'd your grandpa help you with this stuff?
So my grandpa, he's been sober like 48 years now.
So he knew he had trouble
so
too.
He's been here, done that,
Yep.
He's like, I did the same stuff,
Yeah.
He's like, it's just not good for you. It's like, well, maybe for you, but not me, just kind of kept going through that. They got me, like all these AA books and like how to quit drinking and like the Bible and, kind of went through it all, and then went over to his buddies and started hunting some dogs for him. And, he just tried to get something that didn't involve drinking, pounded into me. And
Yeah. That's cool, man. I mean, and I think that backs up a lot of the statistics that I see, because I'm a big believer in, I think the biggest problem young people face today is the breakdown of the family. If there's not a dad in the home, the chances of this kid having a plethora of issues, whether it's boy or girl, just skyrockets.
Yeah, then idle hands, there's not a whole lot to do in Oline,
But get into trouble.
Yeah, because they had a skate park and, rode BMX and we'd go down there and ride.
Okay.
Well, this is a skate park. It's not a bike park.
Kind
of the same thing, At least we're not at McDonald's like we usually are.
Yeah.
But
well, that's kind of messed up.
Yeah, but we probably weren't the nicest crowd to hang around with either. Well, yeah,
true. Yeah. Whenever we were hanging out on Main Street in Dunkerton, I'm sure we weren't helping old ladies cross the street. We were just waiting for something bad to happen.
Yeah.
So, all right. And so, everything's going good at that point. You got, you kick the booze and you get some extra, get back into coon hunting and listen to Grandpa, or did it sneak back up on you?
It eventually snuck back up on me.
Yeah.
I was working at Arts Way, and then that shut down. And I got, hired on at Neiman's.
Okay.
And, I don't know, it was like, the first day I drove to the quarry, and the second day I went to the shop. Then on the way home, they're like, do you drink? I was like, kind of, whatever. Stop. Everybody else is drinking. I was like, I might as well too,
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of blew up from there again.
See, the Bible's right. The Bible says bad company corrupts good morals. You were on the straight and narrow for a while.
Yeah.
But you just, sometimes when other people are doing it, it's too tough, man, to say.
But, everybody's like, I got kids your age, or, I'm almost old enough to be your grandpa. It's
Yeah.
like, well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. All right. So, were you, you say yes, and you were thinking, like, I'm going to go full on into it, or you can keep it under control?
I can have, a couple beers. Well,
yeah.
Comes to find out, I can't just have a couple.
Yeah, says every alcoholic ever.
Yep.
Says, yep, I can do it.
It's like, I can have 2 or 3. Well, 2 or 3 turns into 5 or 6 or 12 or 18.
Yeah.
Or you don't remember,
yeah.
Which was a lot of it.
See, and that's cool because I've enjoyed hearing you and Stu, another guy that we work with, another welder, go back and forth from time to time, talk about kicking, drinking, or AA or whatever and things like that. And that's just, I don't know, you guys probably don't even notice that, but like that encourages me sitting there hearing that, because I know it's tough. I know it's tough to say no.
It's, listening to Stuart, say how we went to AA. I went to one meeting and it just wasn't for me.
Wasn't for you.
Nope.
Yeah, but when we were walking out Wednesday, our last day before Thanksgiving, and we had our gifts, and you could have a non-alcoholic gift or an alcoholic gift, and Stu's walking out next to me, and he goes, I wish I could tell you it even looked good, but anymore, I look at this case of Diet Pepsi, and I'd rather have that.
Yeah,
and
I can't even stand the smell of
Right.
alcohol anymore.
Right. And that's, like, people wonder about me, like, I don't even like going to family functions if there's drinking.
Yeah, I'm about the same way.
And I love my family. They know that. And I'm not judging them or nothing. Like, that, you're well within your legal right to do that. But I remember as a kid having adults who were drinking, and they maybe, were just buzzed, not drunk, falling down drunk, but just them talking to you as a kid, and that smell of that alcohol in their breath and just the glaze in their eye. Like, I want my kids to have no part of that.
Yeah,
none.
Growing up, I don't think we did anything without my stepdad having a beer in his hand.
Yep.
It didn't say he was drunk, but
right.
We'd like, let's go look for deer. Drive around, have beer. Let's go hunting. Drive around, have beer.
Yeah.
We'd be sitting there. You're so focused, and all of a sudden you hear a beer crack open. It's like, oh, okay.
It's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, when did it get bad again? What was going on when things kind of got off when you realized, nope, I guess I couldn't handle it?
I don't know. I'd say like 2014, 2015, I was drinking pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And then, one night I got in an argument with our neighbor. They were riding the horses in town, in Fairbank here. And I said, man, I'd like to shoot that horse in the ass with a BB gun. And we got into it.
Oh, man.
Well, I got real drunk. Then I think I went to work at like 10 o'clock. It was a Sunday and Monday. I went to work at like 10 because I overslept.
Okay.
I was like, I can't even run my loader today. They're like, well, can you drive a dump truck? I said, yeah. So I drove a dump truck in the quarry, stockpiling.
Oh, my
And then,
goodness.
it had been the summer of 2016. Got off work Friday. I said I would work Saturday. Went to Watermelon Days.
Ooh. You never made it Saturday, did you?
No. I actually called our plant manager at 4 o'clock. Or I texted him. Said, ain't going to make it in. I'll be in jail. And
Goodness.
then I had to shut my phone off. Yeah. It's like I got pulled over. I was like, oh, this sucks.
Like on the way home from Watermelon Days?
No, I actually was going to my buddy's house. But,
Wow.
what really sucks was my truck was getting worked on. So I had a guy I work with. He does like automotive work on the side. I had his car. So I was like, oh, this really sucks. I was like, now I'm going to have to pay him to go get his own car.
Out of the impound?
Out of the impound.
Yeah.
Well, then I go to jail and I'm like trying to sleep. And I hear someone talking to me, and I'm like, man, I'm hearing stuff. Well, it was a girl I used to work with. She's like, no, you need to stay up. You got to do all this paperwork, do your pictures.
Yeah.
And I was like, this sucks. I said, why do I keep doing this? 'Cause she knew I drank and all this stuff. She's like, I don't know, maybe it's time for a change. And I was like, yeah, I think it is.
Nice.
And then, the next day, got it out. And I had to wait for probably a half hour for Kayla to come pick me up. And she didn't really say anything. I was like, I'm done. I'm done drinking. I said, we got to figure out how to get Daryl's car out. And she's like, okay. Her and my stepdad got the car out while I was at work. And I was like, okay, we got to go talk to Daryl.
Yeah.
Went out there and was like, hey, said, I messed up. He's like, what? I said, I got an OWI. He's like, well, did you hit a deer? He said, was a headlight out? I said, no. He's like, well, the car's fine. He goes, I'm fine with that. He goes, I hope you learned your lesson.
Yeah.
He's like, but I'm glad it's not something because of me,
Right, yeah.
It's like, no. I said, I was just being dumb. And that's about all that, went for that.
So you saw the light kind of thing. I mean, you were realizing like this.
I guess the first step was I had to tell Daryl that I got an OWI in his car.
Which is embarrassing.
Yeah, which is super embarrassing.
Yeah.
Then, I don't know, made it through the week and got my truck and then called my grandpa and said, hey, you want to go shoot? He's like, yeah. So we went out to my buddies and I had a brand new 30-pack of Busch Light and shooting it. He kind of looked at me weird a couple times,
Doing the Kid Rock treatment.
Yeah.
Just now with the AR.
Yep.
With a pistol.
Yep. Pistols and 22s. And
man.
Said he went home and told my grandma, he's like, well, I think Bailey got in trouble again. We just shot a case of beer. And I eventually told him I got an OWI. And he's like, well, are you finally seeing what I've been telling you?
Yep.
I was like, yeah. I said, that's me being done.
Man.
And
see, I love that. I mean, I think that's kind of how jail and prison's supposed to work. Like, it's supposed to kind of deter. At some point, a light bulb should go off, and you should say, yeah, I don't ever want to be in here. I don't want to, this ain't worth it. And, as Bible-believing Christians, we get baptized when we come to Jesus, when we accept Jesus. And what we're basically saying is like, I know I'm a sinner. I know I got a problem. And I know Jesus and what he did on the cross is the only way to get right with God. That's why he went to the cross, to take the punishment for the sins of the world. And when you get baptized because you put your faith in Jesus, you're burying that old person. You're leaving him behind. You're saying, I don't want to stay in all those sins. I don't want to, and you're going to struggle, like cussing for me was a big thing. Pretty quickly you start to learn, yeah, that doesn't feel good anymore. Or, the stuff you're talking about. It's not me. You kind of draw a line in the sand and you say, I'm not that same guy anymore. I'm leaving it behind. And this movie about Phil Robertson that had come out, The Blind, like, that's like the perfect illustration of that, In the beginning, when he first come to Jesus and he said, "Okay, you got to find us a place down on the river so I can run the river, we can live off the land, and so my buddies can't find me," because he knew, same thing, once you get around that group of people, that pull is just too tight, or too hard on him. So he stayed clean, stayed away from all that stuff, and by the time they did find him, they pulled up there, and Kay was all worried. They pulled up there, and they were ready. They said, "Let's go, honky-tonkin' or whatever they called it," and all that. And he says, "Guys, the fella you're looking for is dead. We buried him out in that river right there. And I can tell you how to do." And they were scared to death. They took off. And as the years went by, one by one, they all started coming back to him because they noticed he cleaned things up like you clean things up. And they said, "How did you do it, Phil? Like, we want what you got." And if you saw the movie, you noticed that one of the main guys came back like 3 months before he died because he knew he had health issues and stuff. And he came back to Phil and said, "I got to make a change." And so, yeah, I can really appreciate all that good stuff. And I think there's even an episode on their podcast that I listen to. It's like a Bible study, but it's also hunting stories and all that stuff. Phil says, "Yeah, there's an awful lot of bones out in that river by our house," meaning they baptize a lot of people. A lot of people left that drunk life behind and were born again, as Jesus says we all need to be. So,
well, the one day I asked you if you'd baptize Colton. You said, "Yeah, when he's ready."
Yeah.
It got me thinking. It's like, well, I don't remember being baptized. I was.
Yeah.
Went to Sunday school, went to church.
Yep.
But it's like you do it so young and you don't understand that you kind of forget.
Yeah.
And then.
Well, and it depends on what church you went to. Some churches do it for babies because they think it helps, cleanse them in case something happens, while they're younger. When really, to me, when you read the scripture, you don't read about babies being baptized. It's, John the Baptist was baptizing adults, telling them to repent from their sin, turn from their sin, turn towards God. Jesus was an adult, and he was just doing it to be obedient. But so some people do it when they're a baby, so it really meant nothing to them. And then you got like what you're saying, like my kids, some of them have said, "Yeah, we knew what it meant. We knew it was the right thing to do. We accepted Jesus, but like we were probably too young. We weren't really ready to commit. We didn't know what it meant to commit our lives to live for the Lord. Like, that's hard."
Yeah.
So they said, yeah, maybe they were too young. It's all about the heart.
Yeah.
It's not about up here. You can miss it by 18 inches. You might have it up here, but if you don't mean it, then it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
so
but then like all the church stuff, like through high school, it was kind of hard because I was the only guy. It was like me and 8 girls through confirmation and all that stuff. And it was like,
yeah. Oh man,
the odd times of being growing up.
Yeah. And confirmation's good. I mean, you learn stuff. I didn't go through it because I didn't go to a Lutheran church. I didn't go to any church when I was young, period. But like, you can learn a lot of things. But like my wife's fiance, he went through all that stuff and he quickly understood, like, you can do all these things. You can learn all these things. You can do whatever they want you to do. If your heart's not in it, it really doesn't mean much to you. Stuff might come back to you later, scripture, because there's just wisdom in scripture that might come back later. God's word says it will not return to me void. But yeah, it's about the heart. So it doesn't matter if your kid's 5 years old or 20 years old. When he's ready to commit his life to Jesus and he understands it doesn't matter what age he is. He's ready when he's ready. So they'll let you know. But all right, so you get your head on straight, you signified it all by shooting up the can of Busch Light. Does life get a whole lot more enjoyable for you?
Well, before we get that far, because like I did 6 or 7 hours in jail,
Okay.
before I got out. Well, then you have to take a class on drinking and driving.
Okay.
But in that class, they teach you how to drink and drive. Like, pretty much what it was. Like,
what?
You can have, it takes, an hour for...
Oh, yeah.
For 12 ounces of alcohol,
Yep.
he said.
Yep.
So, if you go, like, they counted down how many hours it'd take for all this, how many ounces of liquor it'd take to get out of your
To
system.
work through, yeah.
It's like, that's nothing to do with why we're all here.
Yeah.
And then...
We don't need that information.
Yeah,
Don't tell us how to do it.
Like, I'm done drinking, so I don't need to know that because I already kind of knew that,
Wow.
But then, you have to get your breathalyzer. You have to go through all that,
Oh, for the car, to make the
Yep.
car start? Yeah.
And I got mine in, like, December. So You had to go out, wait for it to warm up. Then you had to start it, go in the house. I'd go in the garage and smoke a cigarette because it'd go off so long after you started it. So then you have to go out there and blow on it. It's like,
wow.
Yeah, it was not fun.
What a hassle.
Yep. And then after my court case or whatever, I'd called Fayette County Sheriff, set up for the rest of my jail time, which was like 43 hours.
Okay.
So then I think it was around Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving. I don't remember. Yeah, I had to go and finish my sentence,
Just did like a few days?
I got out like Sunday morning at like
okay.
2 or 3 in the morning, but yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
I mean, not the environment, but just sitting in there, all you can do is think. It's like,
yeah.
You're thinking so much, you can't even read a book, you can't even watch TV, everybody in there is talking about drugs, and it's like, yeah, why did I even do that?
Yeah, you don't belong there anymore, and you're never coming back.
But then you see people, it's like, I went to school with him. Oh, he's older than me. It's like, they'd come up and try to talk to you, and like, what are you in here for? It's like, way less stuff than you're in here for, but...
whatever it is, you're not going to see me in here again.
Yeah, I said, you ain't going to see me in here again.
Yeah. But, oh, man.
Yeah, then, I guess after that, we moved to Sumner. Well, outside of Sumner.
Okay.
And still working at the quarry, and then, we had a baby, and then, working, sometimes I'd leave home at 3:30 in the morning and get home at 7, so it's like, well, got to make a change there. And then I went to Precision in New Hampton for a while. That didn't cut out. Then it took me like 3 months to get on at Lifeline. So I'd pretty much just stayed at home and cleaned like our acreage. And then they called me. And then I got on there, and it's still where I'm at.
That's crazy, because I cannot remember a time where we couldn't have used another welder. Like, I don't get that.
Well, I had my interview, and then the walk around. And then it just, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks for the drug, the physical.
Oh, yeah.
But then they didn't tell me it was an actual physical, like we had to lift weights.
Yep.
I thought pee in a cup, cough. No.
Yeah.
So I'd go in there with flip-flops on.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm, got to lift 100 pounds and carry 100 pounds.
Yep.
It's like, then it took another 2 or 3 weeks then.
Yeah.
But.
Man. But so it was the schedule that kind of, it wasn't just another welding job. It was the schedule. You wanted to be home more.
Yep, wanted to be home more. And
nothing beats Lifeline schedule, guys. 4 9s and a 4 on Friday. If we're not on overtime, it's pretty good. Check us out. Tell them Bubba and Bailey sent you. Give us that bonus, that referral bonus. We'll take it.
Easy group of people.
Yeah. Oh, we can vouch for the metal shop. Those are the coolest guys around, for sure. Everywhere else, I don't know.
Everybody's pretty open. People have their days, but so does everywhere else. But
yep.
Pretty laid back, joke around, get your stuff done.
Yeah, it's not bad. If you've been out there in the workforce anywhere, there's plenty of worse places to work.
Oh yeah,
I think.
Well, I told them, I said, I think everybody needs to start in the metals department, get that work ethic, and then we'll transfer you to other departments.
Yeah, we definitely do more than just pull our weight, for sure.
But say starting at Lifeline, I don't know, probably there a week or two. I forgot my safety glasses. And that's the first time me and you ever talked.
Okay.
You got in the machine by the
did I?
office and got me some safety glasses.
Yeah, you kind of need those.
Being the new guy, it kind of takes a while to, I guess for people to kind of come up to you and or for you to go up to somebody else.
Yep.
But, yeah, I'd say there's a lot of good relationships there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough thing too. Like it's slowed down recently, but we used to have, we'd get somebody in and they'd be gone after a week or two. And it still happens, I guess, but not as much as it did. Now that Bryce is in chassis prep, we're not turning over people left and right there or whatever. But that's tough.
Yeah, I guess why do you want to get to know somebody that's going to be there very long?
Exactly. But it's not, I don't know, it's the right thing to do. If they're new, at some point in the first week or two, just go up to them. And I always just kind of do the same thing. Like, hey, you getting the hang of it? If they're working up front or something. Hey, you getting the hang of it up there? Something just to let them know, just to let them, not feel threatened or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm not the most sociable guy to people I don't know at all.
Yeah. Well,
So for me, that's
I guess
hard to
kind
do.
of got me. I had to train some of the couple new welders we had that
Yeah.
eventually left. It's like, well, that kind of sucks, but
Yep. Yeah, you try and build a bridge with them and then they're gone.
yeah.
That's tough. That's tough. All right. So what's life like now? What do you guys do? What do you enjoy?
Well,
you guys.
we were living in like a 900 square foot house, called it the cabin, and I don't know.
That's pretty tiny.
Yeah. Then a mobile home came up for sale, and told my stepdad who had it, and he's like, "Is that what you want?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, we have money set aside for you," so
Okay.
we bought it, and then that was a lot of work. I mean, I
Had to gut it and stuff, right?
no, because we had to move it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I jacked it up, got all the blocks out, and
Mhm.
all the stakes out, and then the farmer, we had to get the permit. Well, then the title has never been signed. So Kayla ran around for like 2 or 3 days having all these people sign the title. Then we had to pay for each time it was transferred.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a mess. But then, he came, he called, said, "What time are you going out there?" I was like, 7, but I'm going to need a couple hours. He said, "Nope, I'll be there." He had a skid loader, truck, trailer, pallets, his tractor. I think we're moving it by 9 or 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then moved it out to our house and got it set down, and then the work started again. Had to
Yeah.
jack it all back up and
Get it level.
I think I re-leveled it like 3 or 4 times, and my stepdad and grandpa were out there like, just stop, just take a break, just walk away. It's
And you just want to get it
Yeah,
done.
just
You want to go
wanna
till
get
it's
it
done. Yeah, I know it.
but
Man.
yeah, now 4 years sober.
Nice.
Slowed down on coon hunting a little bit. I don't hunt. I didn't hunt as hard this summer as I usually do.
yeah.
But I took my boy and his puppy out. The first time she's ever been out in the dark, and turned 2 coon loose. She lost them. We put her in the box, and my buddies showed up. We were hunting his ground, and I was like, just cut her loose. And we're sitting there talking, and she starts treeing. My boy turns his light on and takes off. It's like, well, he knows.
He knows what to do, huh?
Yep. And then
Oh, that's
this
cool.
fall, it was nice out, so took my old dog out and cut him loose and got out of the truck, get him ready, and
Yeah.
he reaches down and picks up a caterpillar. Dog barks. He starts walking down that horse trail at Volga Lake. Get to the thick stuff, so I put him in this pack, carry him around, get to the tree, and he's just loving it. The dog has a coon, shoot it out, and he's just sitting there watching. And we
Dang.
start walking back to the truck, and he's like, down. I said, "You gotta wait till we get on the trail." So we get on the trail, put him down, and him and the dog are walking side by side. And it's like,
That-
might be doing something right,
Yeah.
He's enjoying the outdoors.
Yep. Man.
But
That's
then,
cool.
my friend's wife actually reached out to me and asked if I could help at the DNR class at Fontana,
Okay.
because the guy that usually does the hound hunting part had to leave early. So I did that. It was kind of hard, getting into public speaking.
Yeah.
Then it's hard to kind of talk about coon hunting and how it's involved and the money in it and the Amish people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I could say I tried, and I was there to help, and,
Yeah. Give back a little bit.
Yep, try to.
Sure. Man, well, that's cool. That's a good story. It's your story, and it's a good one. So, yeah, that's good to see. The kid likes it, too, likes coon hunting, and that's something you guys can hopefully grow with. And because, yeah, I've been deer hunting for a while. I didn't grow up deer hunting, and now I'm at the point now, 20-some years in, if my kids aren't hunting, I don't really care to hunt anymore. It's fun when it was like us as a family kind of thing, and as that kind of fell apart, like, yeah, youth season with any of my kids, if they wanted to go, we'd go, and now it's just like, yeah, I don't even want to do it myself anymore. I'd rather. So yeah, I'm taking my youngest boy, who didn't get one during youth season. I'm putting him in my spot up in Volga where I've had really good luck. I'm going to take him up there opening morning. And I was like, dude, I'm giving you my spot. So you've got to get one. You cannot let this spot down. Like, I'm trusting you to come through. That's my spot. And I'm not going to hunt it. I'm going to let you hunt it. So we'll see what happens. But man, I think that's a good point to call it kind of the halfway point. We'll call that part 1. So In the industry, they all say, oh, we'll just have to have you back. But we're just going to keep recording. But for everyone listening, this is going to be the end of part 1 with Bailey. I hope you guys enjoyed his story. Man, if you know anybody out there who is like him and messed around and, suffered the consequences because of boozing and partying and running from the cops and all that stuff, share this podcast with them. I bet you it will encourage them. Maybe you got somebody older that you know of, like his grandpa, that is constantly trying to reach out and mentor somebody younger, and you think it's a lost cause. Look at Bailey. It's not a lost cause. Keep trying to encourage people, speak truth into the younger generations. It might take longer than most, but there's nobody not worth trying to reach out for. So that's kind of how Jesus looks at us too. He's the good shepherd. He'll leave the 99 sheep in the flock to go find that one. And if we're honest with ourselves, we're all that one that he's got to go looking for sometimes. So if you want to know more, man, you guys can always email me at whatisuppodcast@gmail.com. You can send a message to the Facebook page or the Instagram or whatever it is if you want to know more. But I hope today's episode encouraged you, and hopefully you will come back for part 2 when it drops in about a week or so. So Lord willing, we'll see you then.